Life at the moment is just way, way too fast. But a lot of people think they have to keep up, but it's this trying to keep up that makes you feel inadequate. And it's like, I need to do this, I need to be up there, I need to be doing that, I need to have one of these, I need to do. It's like, no, stop. Stop what you're doing. When your head's full of noise, it's hard to find a solution to whatever your problems are.
Hey everyone, welcome to This World is Mental, a health-based podcast focused on mental health issues. I'm your host, Robbie Thompson, and I'm joined by my co-host, Francesca Stutley. How you doing, Fran?
I'm doing good, thank you.
So we got a big soccer star on today.
It's football, Robbie, it's football.
I know, it's actually soccer where I come
football.
from, but it's okay. How much do you know about football?
Actually, more than you would imagine, Robbie.
Really?
I loved football when I was a kid, and I used to play. I used to get picked before the boys, and when I was about 10, 11, I was chosen to play for my primary school, and the referee would not let me play.
Speaking of referees, did you know that back home, I was a soccer referee? Went to
Really?
training school, yeah.
No, soccer's been a big part. Soccer, I've said it now. Football was a big part of my life.
No,
My son played a lot, and he went to the States actually on a soccer scholarship.
I think Lee Sharpe's no stranger to referees either, so yeah, pretty cool. Can't wait to get him on here. Actually, here he is.
Mental stories and mental outcomes. You're listening to This World is Mental with your hosts, Robbie Thompson and Francesca Stutley.
It's driving away. Now Roy Keane played across there, and Sharpe has made it 2-2. A super strike again.
Well, that's a beautiful ball. Martin, first time, good cross. Oh, on the volley by Lee Sharpe, and a goal out of the blue.
Here's Hughes, finds Lee Sharpe, no offside, 3-0.
Lee, we're honored to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
No, we all know about your, football career with Man U, 8 caps for England, a couple cups with the Premier League. I mean, it's just an amazing story. But what we're so interested in is, as a kid growing up, football was obviously your passion. That's the career path you took. Did anything ever prepare you for the shock of going from playing at a junior level to boom, now you're playing in front of 80,000 people live in the stadium, as well as millions of people on TV?
In a word, no. It's I was a schoolboy at 15 until I was 16 at Birmingham City. They let me go. I then went on trial down to a smaller club called Torquay when I was 16 and got signed on as a YTS. So I moved 300 miles away from home, stayed in digs, so I had to go away from my mum and dad and friends at 16. And then I sort of went down on the 1st of July, I think it was. By the October, I was sent home for a few days because they said I was looking homesick. And while I was at home, I had a phone call saying I had to go down because they'd had a few injuries, and I was in the first team squad. So come on a sub in a local derby, Exeter versus Torquay, with I think about 3,500 fans there. As a 16-year-old kid, wasn't prepared for it. Was really excited. Was a sort of comfortable crowd to deal with at the time. Then was sort of in and out of the team for a few months, and then got spotted by Manchester United. So at 17, went up to Manchester, signed for Manchester United. Again, was expecting to be in the reserves and coached and educated about how to play in a game and all of it. And they had a few injuries, and at 17, pretty much got straight into the first team squad. So I think the average attendance at the time was about 47,000. So I've gone from school at 16 down to Torquay to play in front of 2,000 or 3,000 at Torquay to playing in front of 50,000 at Manchester United, all in the space of just over 12 months. So,
Wow. You're there to play football, and you're trained in football, and you have all your physical training. Is there anything, do they give you any mental training for you're going to walk out, or any kind of way to keep focused at all? Do they have that conversation?
No. The manager, the process was pretty much, I played in the reserves. I was a left winger, which is an attacking side, left side player. For those that don't follow football, and I made my debut at left back, which is, as a defender, is a little bit of an easier position to play in for a 17-year-old kid coming into the team. But no, I played there a couple of times in the reserves because they had a couple of injuries, and then the managers came up to me in training about. In fact, I played a cup match on the Wednesday before I played my league debut on the Saturday, and he came up to me and just said, "If I put you in and give you a chance, are you ready?" And of course, you're not going to turn around to the manager and say, no, give me another couple of weeks. You're just going to jump at the chance. And that was it. So I actually played a cup game on the Wednesday night at Old Trafford that went into extra time. So I actually played 2 hours of football on the Wednesday and then made my debut on the Saturday at Old Trafford again.
Wow, that's a breakneck pace.
Yeah, it is pretty much.
So with this podcast, we're always, kind of exploring people's physical and mental kind of health things. And obviously, I mean, football, you're in peak form, especially at that age, 17, 18. Now, Fran mentioned something about, does anybody get you mentally prepared? Because I can imagine the psychology behind it. Like, not only are you going out performing in front of all this audience that's paid to be there, they want to be there, they're expecting great things. You're going up against some of the best players in the world. And did that ever weigh on your mind as well? Because I can imagine, giving a speech in front of a bunch of people is one thing, but giving a speech after, let's say, like Obama, who's a great speaker, that's a whole nother thing. Combining those two could put a lot of pressure on somebody. How did you deal with that?
I think the manager was probably, although the manager put a lot of pressure on me, I think the backroom staff, the coaching staff were like, listen, don't worry about making mistakes. I also think that for me personally, the more pressurised the situation, the more I tend to focus, so I can block out what else is going on. And the fans, before the game, I got nervous before every game, whether it was 17, 27, 32, right through my career, I got nervous in most games. Less so, obviously, as I got older and a little bit wiser and more experienced, but certainly from 16 to 26, I was really nervous before every game. And I think the bigger the occasion, you block out the fans, it becomes white noise. You learn how to deal with the aftermath of fans either saying well done or not so well done, the press doing the same thing, and you tend to go back into your own little bubble of your own living room and your own little space.
Yeah, I can't imagine the pressure of the fans yelling at you from the side, but it's interesting you say it goes into white noise, and also the press, because they can be brutal with questions, kind of trying to find that chink in your armour. So did they give you any press training, how to talk to the press?
There was no press training when I first got to Manchester United, but the manager did protect us, so he wouldn't let us speak to the press for the first couple of years. I think I did on a couple of occasions and got it in the neck from the manager and got fined for doing so. But no, I was protected from the press to start with, and then when I'd been there a couple of years and seen what went on and what people wrote about other players and what they'd said, he was always like, whenever I went into an interview, he was like, be careful what you say. If you don't feel comfortable, don't answer anything. Don't be frightened to say no. So I wasn't coached, but I was sort of helped a little bit.
Before this podcast, we kind of started looking into typical things that a sports star would go through in their career. And a lot of sports stars are plagued by debilitating injuries, right? I know you've had your bouts with some injuries, and it affected your career slightly. But I also know that people who've had a great career and then, boom, gone out with an injury. And I'm sure you've kept up with them as friends. How do they manage that? Is there any kind of training on that side? Is there programs to get people to take their mind off of performing at that level and having a purpose after football?
I don't think there is a great sort of support network of players. There's a lot of younger players that were really, really talented as young lads and then get injuries and can't play football again and have to go into other careers and never even make the first team, so no one's ever heard of them. And there was never any support system or backup network for them. I think what the clubs used to do was the players, apprentices all used to go to college one day a week to try and get them into the education system. But as teenagers and sports boys, we were never really interested in academics, and you get the odd one or two that still go on to college and to uni while they're still playing, but they're very few and far between. So
yeah, I can imagine.
They all have they all sort of have a baptism of fire if they leave football through injury and then have to go and find another career path when it's not something they've even contemplated or looked at. It can be really shocking for a few.
Yeah, I think that's the same in many industries as well. You're kind of the cream of the crop, but it's the same, I guess, with singers or musicians or actors who all of a sudden are not picked or not chosen. Doesn't mean to say they're not talented. It's just that it's a kind of a timing thing, I would guess. And I wouldn't say luck, but is it a destiny thing where there's so many talented people around, but it's just whether you get chosen at that time or you're injured or whatever.
Well, there's that story about Michael Jordan. He went up for North Carolina basketball team, and he wasn't picked for the team, right? So he practiced 12 hours a day, every day for a year, and then he got picked, and then we all know how his career progressed from that point on. I mean, some people aren't even that lucky, especially with injury, or even today, I think it can just be like the team's brand. Like some people just don't fit the brand, and sport is very commercial. It's one of the most dynamic fields I can't even imagine, Lee, everything that what you've managed to achieve. I mean, big kudos to you. It's just amazing, honestly. But I know you past football, you started making this transition to professional golf. And of course, golf, we think it's just, some people don't even call it a sport. I've seen you play, and I very much know it is a deep and dedicated sport. Tell us how that transition happened for you.
It was just a passion. I started playing golf when I got to Manchester United at 17. I met a really close friend of mine. A couple of years later, he was a golf pro, so we knocked around for 10 years. So I was sort of not coached, but guided and given tips while we were on the course and while we played. I saw how proper golfers play, so I saw an elite level and how they do it and what it takes to get there. So it's just been something, even in football, I've never sort of gone towards coaching and management. I've always been the player. I've never really liked to watch football that much. I've always liked to play it. And the same with golf. I do watch a bit of golf, but I always prefer to play the game rather than watch it and coach it. And then it just got to a level where golf was all I was thinking about. So I thought, well, I need to just see where it takes me and see what I can do with it. And it was just this professional, competitive streak in me thinking, I can do it.
And that's our giveaway sound. This week, we're giving a football shirt signed by Lee Sharpe from his old team, Manchester United. All you have to do is go to thisworldismental.com, click the link to enter, leave us a review on Apple Podcast, and that's it. Now, back to our show.
Is it in your DNA? Were your parents, were they sporty? Were they natural athletes? Was it something that you discovered? I'm just fascinated if that's in your genetic.
My dad was a semi-pro footballer. I didn't quite make the grade as a footballer. Very competitive at semi-pro, but quite. I would say my dad was the joker, and he was fun to be around, and he's a lovely bloke. But I would say he's a very nervous person. He would never public speak. He would never put himself forward for things because of fear. And I think I was a lot like that until I'd sort of done what I'd done, and now I'm sort of like, well, I couldn't really care less, so I'm just going to have a go and see where it goes.
That plugs right into the golf and connecting that with the football days. You said earlier that, with the crowd and everything, and I can appreciate turning them into white noise. And I've spoken to people that have done that same thing, not on the same level, but they just switch it off. And I would imagine with the golf, it's the same thing. I mean, you're teeing up for the first shot. I mean, I know you played in the Middle East, you played in Asia, you play all over here in Europe, and people come out to see you play, and they expect a lot of things. I mean, you're Lee Sharpe. Do you just put the blinders on again? Does that old football training kind of come into play with golf?
It sort of comes into play a little bit. It's a different concept though. Golf is a totally different game to football. Football, you're on a pitch and no one's really that close. And if you're having a bad day, you just control it and you pass it to one of your teammates and they help you out. If you're in trouble, if you make a mistake, someone helps you out. In golf, it's you and you only. Yeah. It's a slower paced sport. It's a very much a stop, look at me while I play this shot. So it's all right when you're on the first tee and you've got the driver and you're just swinging it and trying to hit it as hard as you can. But when you get around the greens and it's sort of like, it's a lot more finesse, it's a lot more feel, and you've got a nervous, heavy stomach, your limbs are heavy, you can't feel a lot, and you've got to chip this delicate little chip shot or knock a little putt in.
It's hot out.
And it's expected, so you've got like a little 4-foot putt, and it's expected to go, and it's like, but this is one of the hardest things because, it's one of the hardest shots in golf under pressure. But that sort of appeals to me. That challenge of my own mind. I know I can sit in the house or go down to the local course around here and knock a 4-foot putt in time and time again without missing. And I know it's just a mental state that I'll be in that will get me nervous, and it's having to deal with the physicalities of the nerves and conquering the brain. So I quite like that challenge.
All this sounds like so much internal work and discipline and all that. When does a person start having fun with this? Because I mean, I've seen you score goals. I mean, you know, the smile comes out, the like that winning, you know, passion. And then I've seen you play golf as well. How do you transition all that pent up anxiety or, you know, nervousness from being younger to just, you know, making the sport fun? When does that happen?
Well, I think the fun comes in seeing the progression and the improvement. When I got to Torquay, I obviously didn't think I was good enough because I'd been let go by 3 or 4 Midlands clubs from where I lived. So I was having to fight my way into being good enough. When I got to Old Trafford, I didn't think I was good enough around all these world-class international players. So I had to get my head down and work on what I thought I needed to be good enough. I've played against European tour players and senior tour players, and I know where they're good and where I'm not. So I have to go away, and for me, the enjoyment is in the training. The enjoyment is a lot of the times not even in the game. It's about trying to switch off in the game and allow the training and the practice that's why they say get out your own way and, you know, get in the zone, in the flow, whatever you want to call it. So it's the training bit that I really enjoy. And then the game was always quite nerve-wracking for me. But if I could let go and relax and just do what I wanted to do, then I knew it was going to be all right.
And we'll get right back to the podcast in just a moment. As a reminder, we at YogiLife365.com offer a choice of detox courses, and we're offering a discount. Go to courses.yogilife365.com and put in the discount code podcast21. That's courses.yogilife365.com.
Now, not just with golf. I know you've transitioned to more in the spotlight as well. You've done, I think, Dancing on Ice.
Yeah.
Now that's, I mean, a lot of people see that, and you know, if you actually watch those programs, it's amazing because they just. I mean, were you an ice skater before?
No.
Yeah, of course not.
No.
But I mean, the level that they put you through is just, I mean, but you're able to do it. And does any of your former, you know, sports discipline, did that help you there as well? Like blocking out the crowd and working with a partner on the ice? And
I think the thing that comes from past sport into things like ice skating is just the sort of doggedness of wanting to get it right. I think Dance on Ice, again, is... I thought, I'll do Dance on Ice because it's a nice, slow, graceful sport. They're not going to give us anything too quick. It's going to be nice and easy. Well, I'll tell you what, it is absolutely the hardest thing I've ever done in all my life. And if you fall over, my God, it hurts. So you know about it. And I got given a partner. There was a girl called Frankie who's half Thai, half English. She was like 6.5 stone. And some ice skating ladies, dancers, are more dancers and some are more sort of gymnasts and acrobats. So she was one that got lifted, got thrown. So I had her on one hand on skates, I had her thrown around my neck, I had her like swinging by an arm and a leg and her head nearly hitting the floor. And so we had some pretty dramatic lifts and sort of throws. And so I went in there at the deep end. And again, it must have been watched by, I don't know, 8-10 million people every week. So there's that pressure of, you got to get it right. You don't want to make a fool of yourself on national TV,
or kill her, or
kill her, or hurt yourself. Yeah. So it's again, it's that pressure, and I think it's the doggedness just to want to get it right. That's what I'm like with golf. That's what I was like with football. You know, football after training, we'd stay and we'd ping balls around. We control balls. We're working our touch and our passing. We're working our shooting and crossing and finishing. And we'd have been there all day. You know, as young kids, we'd have been there all day, and only for the manager banging on his office window saying you need to get in and rest because you're going to be tired for Saturday, did we ever come off the pitch. That's the only ever reason. So ice skating was the same. I had a problem with ice skating with my boots. My feet were cramping up after 20 minutes. So it was like, take my boots off for 5 minutes, put them back on for another 20. So it's just this competitive edge of, I've got to get this right, I've got to get this right, I've got to get this right. It's the same with golf. And I'll go and spend hours hitting this shot or hitting that shot or working on this or working on that, just to make sure that when the pressure comes, I know I've done it and I know I can do it again.
You had a reputation of, like, you know, party guy. You know, I see YouTube videos of you like Sharpe shuffle in front of, you know, a lot of girls, you know, when years back. we know you because you're in this town. I mean, I know you as like Mr. Zen Master, like, and I do know, because speaking to you from before, you do things like meditation and all that kind of stuff. How do you stay relaxed these days? And do you meditate?
And also, what got you interested in that? How did you? What was your pull towards that?
I think I've probably been that way inclined from quite a young age, thinking about what life's all about. And I think losing my granddad early, losing my friend to suicide. My friend that I lost to suicide was one of the people that got me into it. I'd always come away from games having done something good or done something bad. Well, it didn't really matter. And then the manager gave me a rollicking. And I used to spend a lot of time in the house on my own and just contemplating what was going on and how I was dealing with things. Then I got into a bit of psychology. The golfer I was talking about, Mark, he gave me the first book that sort of was into, it was like Deepak Chopra, 7 Spiritual Laws of Success. And I used to read that and flick through it and go through it. And then I think when I finished football, again, it was, where am I going? What am I doing? So I got into a bit of reality TV. And then, but my mind still is like anybody else's. My mind gets hectic and full of thoughts. But now I know it's just a thought, and now I know I can change the channel of my thought, and I can change the direction of my thought. I do quite a bit of meditation. I've just actually been for a treatment of kinesiology this morning, which was a little bit emotional as well. So you have to sort of dig around and find out what gives you the reactions to certain situations that tend to crop up. And believe it or not, you can go as far back as you like if you want to find out that certain reactions that you have to certain situations can come from something that not is actually happening now, but has happened a long, long time ago. And I've had to sort of dig into this a little bit. And I just think, life is ever evolving, ever changing, and you've got to, it's what's in front of you deal with, not the sort of before and after effects, if you like.
I think that
I'm not describing myself very well, but
I think you've described it perfectly. That I think that we, as we're growing up, we act in a way now from the experiences we've had in the past, from the environment we were in, and we couldn't help it because we were children or whatever. But when you start to get aware of why you act like you act and get in touch with what made you that way, some people don't even think about it. So it's a real kind of awareness, having that awareness. Oh, that's why I act like that. That's why I do that. That's why I feel like that. And you realise where it comes from. Then it doesn't get triggered in the here and now anymore. And then it kind of clears your mind. And then you can focus and you can decide on how you want to be and choose what you want to think about as well. And you can kind of proact instead of react to how you are. So, yeah, it's interesting. And I think meditation is a calming of the mind. And it's I think if everybody did it, that's what they say. If everybody did it, the world would be different. Yeah,
it's a difficult thing to do, though, because, the way the world is at the moment, especially what we've been through with the pandemic and, and different things and the price rises and everything and Brexit and there's the war in Ukraine, there's so many, and life at the moment is just way too fast. It's way too fast for me, it's way too fast for everyone, but a lot of people think they have to keep up, and it's this trying to keep up that makes you feel inadequate. And it's like, I need to do this, I need to be up there, I need to be doing that, I need to have one of these, I need to do. It's like, no, stop what you're doing, sit yourself down, have 10 minutes of just allowing all that just to fizz in your head and just let it siphon out. And when your head's full of noise, it's hard to find a solution to whatever your problems are.
No, yeah, I've heard an old saying that when you let go of everything, you get everything.
Yeah.
And I think
it's not easy to do, though, let me tell you. Especially,
yeah.
I do it a lot, and still sometimes I can sit there for 10, 15 minutes and argue with myself and curse myself. And it's not easy.
So, Lee, with all the things that you've achieved, what would you like to achieve in the future? What haven't you done? Where would you like to go or try or do or feel or be? What's for somebody who's got to the top of your game in different areas?
Well, I'd like to try and get on the seniors golf tour, just to prove to myself that it can be done, because I've had so many people in golf and out of golf tell me I can't, although I've had a lot of people tell me I can as well. So I'd like to get to that sort of level. If not, I'll just continue playing golf. For me, it's not so much about achievements out there. It's more to find proper peace and calm within me and just enjoy every day. I mean, sometimes, what a beautiful spot we live in. I don't know if anybody that's listening has been to Avia or where they live here or where they're visitors, but what a spot of the world to live in. I mean, the air is pure, the sun's shining, It's absolutely a beautiful place, and sometimes we can go a week without even realising where we live. You know, we forget that the sea's 200 yards away. We forget that we live in one of the most beautiful places in the world. And for me, it's just about trying to enjoy every minute. I don't know how many minutes I've got left on this planet, and with my kids and with my missus. So it's just really love every minute.
Yeah, fantastic. And your kids, how old are they?
4 and 5.
Wow. Are they footballers? Are they athletes?
We can't get him into football at the moment. He keeps refusing to go. We've had him at paddle a little bit. He's had a couple of golf lessons, which he likes.
It's very young, very young.
He's very youngster. Yeah. We sort of let him. I mean, the young one, Lily, who's 4, does ballet and tap. That she doesn't so much like the tap. I'm not sure it's the tap or the teacher. I'm not sure, but she loves tap and ballet. They're going to be going to a summer school of gymnastics, which I think they'll both love. They're both into ninja warriors and stuff like that at the moment, so they want to fight and jump around and learn how to somersault. We've obviously got them swimming because it's so important that you get them swimming. So yeah, I mean, I will get them and introduce them to every sport I can, because I think sport as a tool is a microcosm of life. I think it's awesome.
And hopefully keep them off the phones as long as possible.
It's horrible, but it's something you can't stop. I mean, I don't want them to be technologically backward, but I don't want them to be relying on iPads and TVs all the time. So we do sort of monitor that as and when. Yeah.
No, that's awesome. Lee, before we go, we always ask our guests a couple different questions just off the cuff, real easy. Who are your heroes? Who were your heroes growing up, or who are your heroes today?
Heroes growing up, well, they would have been footballers. I was a Villa fan, so it would have been Gary Shaw and Tony Morley, Gordon Cowans for Villa, like Glenn Hoddle. Then as I got a little bit older, John Barnes and Chris Waddle, because they sort of played in my position. And then since then, I don't know, Tiger Woods as a golfer, and Freddie Couples, just because I like Freddie's swing. And then I'd probably look at, I don't know, I quite like listening to Jordan Peterson. I like Joe Rogan. Oh, yeah. So I like sort of people with balls to stand up to the general rubbish of politics and what people are telling you life should be, and life is definitely a lot different to what you're being sold.
And then the other question, if you could bring awareness to any health challenge out there, what would it be?
I mean, I'm not a doctor or anything anywhere near qualified to give people that sort of advice, but I think mental, physical, and spiritual health is all entwined. You can't do one you do one and you help the other two. So for me, if you're feeling depressed, you're feeling low, obviously talk to someone, realise that it is just a thought and a thought pattern that you've been spiraling around for a long time. It's something you've thinking about in the past or the future. So try and think about something right now, and exercise. Go, if you are mentally low, then go out and get some endorphins around your body. Go for a walk, go for a run, go do yoga, go do something. Get yourself out of breath a little bit. Go on a different route to work. Go and just see something different, say something different, act differently.
Perfect. Great advice, I think. Yeah.
That's amazing. No, Lee Sharpe, thank you so much for joining us here on Wellness Wednesday. You're an inspiration to me. I'm sure to Fran as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and
you.
I think it's really interesting to see, the different sides, that we've all got these different sides to ourselves. And just because you had one career and were at the top of your game, we encompass so many things. You can use the tools from one thing and use it throughout life.
Yeah, I think a lot of the time as well, just because I was very privileged in having my ideal job, it still doesn't stop you getting the mental sort of torture or mental angst. Yeah, well, the mental mix-up that everybody else gets, and be prepared to try different things. I've been to Ibiza to try ayahuasca. I've done the kinesiology. I've done lots of things to change my mind, alter my mind, and find out who I am and what I want and where I want to go. So
fantastic.
Amazing.
Yeah, thank you so much, Lee.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Lee. Take care.
Awesome.
Thanks for listening to This World is Mental. This episode's proudly sponsored by Pure Organic CBD. Go to pureorganiccbd.com and use promotional code 20podcast for 20% off your first order. You can follow us on social media like Facebook and Instagram, and stay tuned here for more episodes. Thanks for listening.